What do you mean by that? Hey, this is Jared.
And I'm Jenna, and this is...
What do you mean by that? It's a podcast about two performers that just happen to be married.
Yeah.
So we're coming to you a little bit later today than usual. It is currently 2 a.m., mainly because we had a lot of storms earlier today, and that wouldn't have made for great content, would it have?
No, we were also faced with some technical difficulties.
Yeah, a little bit of
our
computer
equipment was working against us.
Little computer shut down and reboot and maybe update. So we are here nevertheless, you know.
Yeah.
But today we bring you the hot topic of why we got into theater, how we got into theater, how we got to where we are now. Really just how we got started into it.
This is going to be a deep dive into our history with theater.
The good old Jen and Jared lore, but separate because we both got into theater years and years apart.
I think I might have to dig up some old theater photos of us to put on the Instagram this week.
Oof, that's going to be rough. Well, do you want to go first?
Sure. So with me, performing goes a little bit further back than theater itself for me. I started ballet when I was 5, and needless to say, did not stick with it. I am not a ballerina by any stretch, but I did have fun doing it when I was 5, 6, 7 years old about. But I did start that when I was 5. I got to be in the Nutcracker a few times. I was a cute little angel. I messed up during a performance a few times. One of my earliest memories performing is actually we were like running in a little circle as all little angels, and I got a little bit turned around and did my own little spin and then ran off stage, maybe in the wrong direction. I don't actually remember, but I was not doing what the rest of the little angels were doing. But gosh. I loved it. I loved getting to be on the big stage, and I loved the costumes and it was like the first time my mom let me wear a little bit of makeup, and I loved all of it. So like that was kind of where it like sparked my interest of I want to do this and I want to be on stage, and I just got to figure out how. And then it was I stopped ballet when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and it was a little bit after that I did my first like actual show. My school started a drama program for like 4th and 5th graders, so I was about 9 years old or maybe 10 years old, and they did a little elementary school play called the No Rules Club. And I was like, I want to do that. Like I had looked at some of the community theaters and nothing had been quite the right fit. I wasn't quite old enough to do a lot of that stuff yet, but I could do the school play. So I auditioned for the No Rules Club, and I remember I got up to sing the little song that the character I was auditioning for sang, and I decided to just send it and audition for the lead role in it, which was a character called Sad Sally. And I remember I was in 4th grade, and there were a bunch of 5th grade girls doing it, and I remember I got up there to sing my little song, and all the 5th grade girls said, "She's going for the lead," and they were like kind of snooty about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it anyway. And I was so nervous, but I sang the song, and they picked me. They said I did a really good job, and I got to play Sad Sally in my first ever show. And then from there I did a couple more school plays through end of elementary school, beginning of middle school. And then in 7th grade, I went to my community theater for the first time. I found one in our area. It was a little bit of a drive, so it was a commitment, but my parents decided they were going to let me do one show a year at this community theater if I really wanted to do it. And they would drive the 45 minutes or so away from our house it was to take me to these rehearsals. And they said if I put in the work, I could do it. And so I went, and that summer, this community theater was doing Treasure Island, which again, not a typical like play or show to be a part of, but they were doing Treasure Island. And I went in and I was like, I don't like, maybe I can just like be a pirate in it or something. Like I wasn't really going for anything major, because what's a 12, 13-year-old girl going to play in Treasure Island? But I auditioned, and then the next day I was at a friend's house, and I got a phone call, and they were like, hey, this is the theater calling, and we want to see you back for a callback for Jim Hawkins. And I said, this is Jenna. Like I thought they had called the wrong number. I was like, I'm a girl, right? And they're like, yeah, we liked your audition. We're calling you and a couple boys back for the role. and we want to see you all read. And so I came back and I read with the guy who they were going to have play Long John Silver, and I got the part.
Hey.
And so I got to be Jim Hawkins in Treasure Island, and that was my first community theater show. And then I wound up staying at that community theater through, I think I did my last show there. Well, I did shows there through high school, and then I actually did return during college and do one show there while I was majoring in theater in college. But I did theater at school and community theater all through middle and high school. And that's kind of how I discovered through the community theater mainly that people could go on to major in theater, because I saw some other people doing it. And I was like, that sounds like a dream come true. If I can keep doing this and maybe eventually even get paid for it, that's exactly what I want to be doing. I can't imagine myself doing anything else or feeling the way I feel when I'm on stage about anything else I could do for a career. So that's kind of how I got my start into theater. What about you?
Well, didn't you with Jim Hawkins, didn't you take a certain trip to Claire's around that time?
Oh, yes. So without notifying my director at the time,
Don't do this, people.
Keep in mind, I was very new to theater still. Like, I had done some school plays, but the school I was at was different. I did not know theater etiquette, like how to talk to your director.
But you knew you were playing a boy.
I knew I was playing a boy. I did know that much, but I didn't know that things I did to my appearance outside of rehearsal
So what'd you do?
Needed to be communicated. So I was turning 13 years old, and for my 13th birthday, I wanted to get my ears pierced because I hadn't gotten them pierced yet. So I went to Claire's and I got my ears pierced with my birthstone, which is a ruby, so a bright red stone put through my ears, and you can't take them out for 6 weeks or else the hole close up. So I got that done. And within those 6 weeks was opening night of Treasure Island. And so there are pictures of me playing Jim Hawkins with these bright red ruby earrings.
Well, speaking of things of what not to do, now it's my turn for the story. So, backtrack about 10 years ago. I was 15. I was freshly 15. And I was... I was all bedded down for the night, basically. I was in my sleepwear. I was eating dinner, actively eating dinner. And my mom gets a text from some of our cousins, actually. And and she was like, hey, they just messaged and said there's auditions for a musical. It's about half an hour away at a community theater. Do you want to go? Because I had kind of been interested in theater. I had been really touched and really liked going watching theaters. I went and saw ballets. I had a subscription to a whole year, a whole season of ballet performances. I was so into just watching theater that I was like, maybe I'll do it one day. I don't know. And so my first response to my mom was like, heck no, my gosh. What, you think I'm in my pajamas over here? I'm eating food. And I looked down at my, I don't even know if I had a phone then. I guess I did. But I saw my phone and I was 30 minutes away. The time for me to audition would be 30 minutes. So it would literally be throwing on whatever clothes I had and just driving straight there. Never had auditioned live for anyone for anything before. And I was sitting there. I was like, no, definitely not. And then I had, that movie moment, that you feel whenever you're driving home or you're riding home in a car that's raining, you look out the window and it's such an ingenuine moment because you're like, oh, I can just picture myself in a movie right now. And I had that movie moment and I was like, what if I just do it? And I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I did that. Years later, right? Well, guess what? I said, sure, why not? But this was the first of many tragedies that happened that night. So I'm glad I did it. I will say that. But the most recent musical I'd watched was Annie, the Jamie Foxx Annie, the latest one. And for some reason, that song, Together at Last, that song was stuck in my head so much. And I was like, I'll just sing that. This 15-year-old, over 6 foot tall dude coming in and singing a song from Annie.
And what show were you auditioning for?
A Christmas Carol the musical.
Okay.
So, fitting. And I threw on like a pair of jeans, and I'm pretty sure I had like a Mickey Mouse hoodie on. Actually, I'm not pretty sure. I know I had a Mickey Mouse hoodie on. And I walked in there, head was not held high. But I kept telling myself, I was like, listen, if I make a fool of myself, then I can just disappear. I don't know any of these people aside from, my cousins. But like, I don't know any of these people, so I can just disappear and I can just be gone, right? Well, I auditioned. I forgot the words.
No.
I had my hands in my hoodie pockets, which is arguably maybe even worse than hands in just your regular pockets. And I was like, can I start over? And they're like, yeah. And everyone was very supportive. They knew that this guy had no clue what he was doing. And it doesn't help that I was like the tallest one in the room as well. Stuck out like a sore thumb. Like embarrassment from Inside Out too.
No,
that was me. That was me. And he even was wearing a hoodie. Anyway, so I sang my song again, and I actually sang it this time. And I was like, and walked off stage. I was like, thank heavens that's over. Never again. That's what I was thinking in that moment. And anyway, so then your boy gets a call back for, if anyone knows A Christmas Carol, the musical, the Alan Menken one that was a Hallmark movie. Young Scrooge is a part in it that sings a song called a Place Called Home, I believe. And beautiful song, by the way. But they called me and like 3 other dudes back. And these 3 other guys, one was like a professional, like professional. And I'm pretty sure he just finished like a contract at like Dutch Apple.
Oh, wow.
And of course I didn't know what that was back then, but I was like, oh, cool. And he had done a ton of other stuff too, but that's just the one I can remember. And then the 2 other ones I think were high schoolers, but anyway, they wanted us to sing, and it was like this belting part, and your boy was like, belting, what the frick is that? Like I literally just sing for fun in the car with my family. I didn't have my own car or anything. So like someone called me over and was like, hey, like you're going to be called back, but like you got to be like really confident, right? And I was like, I just met all of you. Like I just met all of you and I'm terrified. And like, I've heard there's going to be dancing tonight. I came in jeans and a hoodie. I didn't know there was going to be dancing. I've never danced in front of anyone in my life. Anyway, so at this point I was terrified. I was like, I don't want a part that I have to sing by myself. Like I just want to be a part of the community without being a part of it, basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, one guy took us back and like taught us the song and was like, don't think about it. Just do like push-ups whenever you sing it. Like, don't worry about the high notes or whatever. If anyone knows that song, there are no high notes in it. And I don't know why I thought it was super high, but like I was terrified. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to false this. But anyway, I went and I sang and I was like, I probably did okay. I mean, I didn't sing flat. That's nice. But anyway, I went home and I think like the next day I was like, let's watch this movie, because it was like November or something, and let's watch the movie that this musical is all about. And while we were watching it, I saw the cast list, like I think it emailed or like put on a Facebook page, and I saw that I got like ensemble/butler, and you don't know how happy I was. I was like, you would have thought that I got like the absolute lead role. You would have thought that I was like jumping for joy, because I was like, yes, I don't have to sing by myself. I hope not. I didn't know what the butler was. I was like, I probably don't have to memorize anything. I just get to chill. Well, that's before I knew what ensemble tracks were like. And probably some of the most difficult quick changes I've ever had, even to this day, because I had like 2 dressers and I still barely made it. But anyway, from there, I did a couple more community theater shows. I didn't get my first lead role until I actually started working professionally. And then I worked professionally, and then I still kind of went back to my community theater because I just had I really loved the community there. And then I kept kind of ping-ponging back and forth between a professional theater and just community until I went to college, and it was 3 more years later, and I went to college, and the rest was history.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew as soon as I was in that first show, I was like, this is it. Like, this
Yeah.
is what I want to do. I don't know why, because I mean, the things I did in that show were not anything compared to like what I know about theater now. But I just knew, I was like, this is just, I always want. I didn't want it to end. Like, I had like the post show blues so bad after my first show, and I barely knew these people. I mean, it was a very short rehearsal period and show period for a community theater. It's only like maybe a month and a half. So I just absolutely loved it. But that's what I did. So if anyone is ever worried about going in and making a fool of themselves, I got you. I take one for the team.
There's always a place to start, and that's just so important to remember. And it's crazy, like, going back through all these memories, thinking about like all the things I didn't know and all the things I learned through doing community theater in my school shows and stuff. I'm gonna talk about starting at my community theater just a little bit, because I mean, the school shows were fun, but like that first school show, like, it was with all my friends from school. I already knew everyone. It was just a different experience. But then going into that community theater, like you were saying, it was a 2-month long process, and then by the end of it, I was so sad when it was over and we had our cast party. And I mean, you would have thought someone was dying with how sad everyone was, because that cast did get really, really close. And like, it's just crazy looking back and being like, the things that were so foreign to me then that are just so familiar to me now after having done, I mean, I don't even know how long. I mean, it's been almost, in a couple years, it'll be 20 years since I did my first show, which is absolutely crazy to me. Yeah. And to, like, since it's so ingrained in me, like, I remember in that first community theater show, I had a really, really big problem with projecting, which I still do sometimes. I'm a quiet speaker. But I remember the director, like, she asked me to stay after rehearsal one day, and she was like, what is going on? Because, like, I hear you talking to your friends. I hear you talking this poem. You need to do that when you're on stage. And she took me into the theater, which I had actually never been into before, because I was brand new to this community theater, and it was actually in a civic center. So there were like conference rooms and banquet rooms that we would practice in and do our rehearsals in. So we didn't actually rehearse on the stage until like 2 weeks before the show. So I had never even been in the theater to even see a show there before. And so she took me in the theater and took me in the back row, and it was a big like 500 seat theater. It was huge. And she was like, the way you're talking, how's anyone going to hear you from that stage? We're not using mics. This is a straight play. We're like, you got to learn to do something. And she took me in, and they were rehearsing Smoke on the Mountain, and she let me watch those actors for a while. And like, she just took that one-on-one time to teach me like what projection was. And it wasn't like, I'm getting on to you, you need to fix this, but it was like, this is how you speak, this is how you support from your diaphragm, this is how you do it. You're not yelling, but you're projecting. And that was a little side tangent on what projection is, but for me it was like, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much about this world, and she's taking the time to teach me because she sees something in me. And that was really, really special to me.
Yeah, whenever I was in Little Mermaid as Prince Eric at a community theater, I was being talked to because I had 2 dancer-ish feet whenever I would move around the stage. And there was this lady, her name was Carol Strandberg. She is passed now. But she was like, Jared, you gotta just like run up to Ariel. You gotta run up, and you gotta not have like the dancer feet out, and you gotta not act down to her because you're tall and you can't just act down because the theater's not gonna see you. And I remember being like, yes, ma'am. Like, this was very early on in me getting roles. So I was like, I was going to take anything I could, any sort of advice I could. And if anyone is listening who was in that show, they know how crazy that show actually was. So there was a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces falling from the ceiling on purpose. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Prince Eric died in the show. I don't even think that's legal to change the shows like that, but I died in my show.
It's been a part of a few shows where we added some scenes, whether legally or not. It was. Yeah. I'm gonna put the disclaimer: it was not by my doing, and I was not in the position to argue with the director at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, black market theater is a thing, and most of us have done it at this point. But yeah, I remember really like listening to like a lot of what people, especially starting off. I was like, I just want to listen, and honestly, I'm really glad I did, because I am still learning and still listening. And I find that the people who aren't learning or listening are the people that just like really, really put a big halt on their progression and their passion in their field. But yeah, I think the main thing, since we're talking about like how we got into it, I think the reason I got into it is whenever I would watch shows of any time, musicals of any type, musicals like ballet and straight plays even, I would always like focus on like someone who was not even the lead character, and they would be like so in it and so real, and like they weren't overdoing it. And for some reason I just feel like a connection to those people. And I remember being like, I wish I could do that. I was like, I wish I could connect to that one kid on the back row who's like, man, I want to be a part of that world, you know? And I mean, there's so many shows I've been a part of that like you can just get lost in the world, even though, you know, even if you have very minimal sets, like you can really get lost in it, especially whenever you're in like a theater that like has the lighting that you can't see the audience basically at all. Like it really feels like you're just in the void, and you just go out there and do your art, and it's a beautiful thing.
I had a moment like that in one of my first shows because I started theater before I started wearing contacts, and so I was wearing glasses full time, and I would take them off to do the shows, which I'm blind as a bat without my glasses. Like I can't believe I did that and didn't somehow injure myself or fall off the stage or something. But I was doing a show without my glasses on, and the stage lights were on. I couldn't see the audience. I was like I was in my own little world, and I could truly like fall into it and believe I was in a movie. And I was obsessed with movies growing up, and specifically the behind the scenes like featurettes and watching how they made it, and anything with like child actors I would just eat up because I was like, I want to be them. I want to be that kid on set. And like I got to have that moment on stage in one of my first shows where I just was fully immersed in the world of the show and nothing else around me mattered. And I was like, I'm having so much fun right now and want to do this the rest of my entire life. And like I still remember that distinct moment. It was on stage. I was standing next to a barrel that was on set, and we had built a whole pirate ship on stage, and I was looking towards the pirate ship, and I just remember thinking, I never want to stop doing this ever.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is surreal. I mean, every time I've ever watched a musical since being in one, I've been like, man, I want to be in this. Like, I really want to be in this. It's so, it just makes me so happy watching musicals, and it just makes me so happy watching any sort of art form. Like, I mean, just seeing live theater is just absolutely beautiful to me.
I tear up almost every live show we
see.
Specifically curtain calls. It's just, I see them and they're having so much fun and they're so bought into it, and I'm just like, I know what that feels like, and I'm so happy when I see people enjoying what they're doing. And like I'll cry in shows that it doesn't even make sense to cry in. Like we went to see Six on Broadway, and during the opening number I started tearing up because I was like, this is just so cool.
I did not tear up, but I did feel almost like tearing up, which is funny. We both had that, and we didn't even really look at each other, but I was like, especially whenever they hit that first like chord together, I was like, oh man,
it was such a good cast.
Oh, it's such a good cast, incredible cast. Oh my gosh. But yeah, all the other shows we saw, I was just like, man, I'm so glad I'm here in this moment. So it was incredible.
Theater truly is like a community and an experience that you can share in from all sides, whether you're on stage or in the audience. Like it's just a different experience that I really believe you can't have anywhere else.
Oh yeah. And whenever you have those like real quote unquote acting moments as well with a scene partner or a teacher, it's like you've unlocked a whole new realm of emotions you never thought.
Yeah, like you can just like feel this connection, and you're like, oh, okay, we're both in it right now.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You're just totally lost in it, and those moments are so great to be able to have.
It is incredible. Well, for the listeners, the takeaway is go and support a community theater. Go and watch something. You know, go watch live theaters. Go watch anything. Go watch a theater performance, you know, on YouTube, a slime tutorial, anything. Just, you know, really relish in the moment of theater. We just passed, you know, World Theater Day last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, get in the theater spirit. It's a great time.
Yeah. And if you're listening on Spotify, or if you're over on our Instagram, drop us a comment, send us a message. We want to know what your first show ever was. We've shared our first shows. I just like hearing it from you guys. And if you haven't been in a show, what's the first show you ever saw? And if you haven't seen a show, what's the first show you want to see? Like, I just want to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. And if you want some of those real acting moments, we are still accepting some students. We have full 20-minute sessions just for you to meet with one of us that we will give out completely for free just to see how you like it, and we'll run through some exercises and stuff like that. But you can find out more information about that on our @Jared and Jenna Instagram page.
That's right. We look forward to hearing from you guys.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys later, all right?
Bye.